Welcome to this session as part of your Creditinfo Academy. Okay. The first one of the year, I believe. My pleasure to deliver. My name is Pauk Gauci. My role is a training and development practitioner. I'm also a visiting lecturer at a number of universities where I facilitate sessions on leadership, managing change, and learning, organizational learning. My background is certainly in business training and development, as well as the academic aspect of learning. So, thank you for the invite, and my pleasure to be here in the session. The title of the session is Enabling Growth Through Change. And essentially, the whole philosophy of the whole session is that we have to look at change as not only in terms of adapting to change, or coping with change, or managing change, but actually to lead change, or see change as an enabler in terms of growth, our individual growth, our team growth, our organizational growth. So hence the title Enabling Growth Through Change, which I incidentally remember I conjured up at 2 o'clock in Dubai International Airport, trying to fill in 2 or 3 hours in transit. And I'm pretty happy with the title, so let's have a good session whereby I can share with you some ideas, some techniques, some best practice skills and ideas how to use change as a tool for your growth, okay? Individual, team, and organization. Change. Steve Colby once defined change as something which is constant, complex, and very rapid in today's business environment. We can't control it. When we try, it becomes frightening, it becomes threatening. So we have to learn how to live with it, how to understand it, how to work in harmony with it, to influence it, even to cultivate it. At the same time, if we look at growth now, so we've defined change. What about growth? Growth doesn't just happen. You need to support it. Whether it's new products, new processes, new systems, new services, new markets. If you don't have a vision of future growth, you're going to be a casualty when market changes happen. If you just sit there, you'll just get run over. Indeed, Sir John Harvey Jones, ex-CEO of IBM, did you spend your time trying to avoid risk, avoid change, and avoid all the things that will give you or bring on to you change? You are unwittingly taking the greatest risk of all, failure to adapt. Essentially, today's competitive environment and changing scenarios mean you have to be ready to change your scenario, your timetable, as soon as circumstances come your way, or at least anticipate circumstances. Staying ahead of the curve, and how you can use that for your business. Essentially, staying ahead of the curve is about being proactive, thinking ahead, planning ahead, thinking next week, next month, next year. And the more you are close to your customer, to your client, the more you can identify today's and tomorrow's needs. If you're close to the customer, which is why we all exist, you can then anticipate what's coming next. But especially if you retain within your organization, within your team, a culture of change and innovation as something which is exciting, as something which can help you to move from A to C, perhaps even more medium and longer term. Whether that means just for you, your team, or your product. That's the key to staying ahead of the curve. When you instill this culture of change as an enabler, rather than as something which is threatening, something which kills the status quo, the routine. If we're managing a situation, it's easier to manage when everything remains the same. What we did last week, we can keep for next week. But if you want to be leaders, you're not happy with the status quo. True leaders strive to look ahead of the curve. It's a change, it's a way of life. Indeed, if you just look at the past or the present, if you rest on your laurels, you miss the future and all that it can bring to you. So change, if you want to grow. If you don't change, you won't grow. You need to do that little bit extraordinary, going beyond the ordinary, that extra bit. That's all it takes to be the crowd, the competition. That means that you need to set your own standard where you want to get to, not just looking at benchmarks across the industry. It's true, the industry has power, it has buying power, it has trend-setting power. And quite often it's easier to just fit in with what other people are doing, with other organizations are doing, with what other countries are doing, with other neighboring areas and countries and regions are doing. But one should not be happy with just settling in to what we have done today. The industry is good at only catching one after the ball has started rolling. Indeed, if you want to stay ahead of the curve, it's up to you to figure out which ball you're going to roll and push up the hill. It's not easy. I'm currently training for the Malta Half Marathon, which is on 23rd February. I had a bad dream on Christmas Day, and that said, I'm eating too much, I'm drinking too much over this Christmas period. I need to do something, otherwise by spring or summer, I'm going to have a big layer of fat around my tummy. So I've started, for my sins, practicing running, jogging 3 times a week. And I can tell you, whenever I see a hill in front of me, it's so hard to push up that hill. But if I want to get better, if I want to strengthen my legs, my muscles, that's the way to go. I can't just have it plain and do. So I do have those occasional hills to face up to. If I want to grow, if I want to make that 21K on the 23rd of February. Great, so my point is, if you jump on the latest bandwagon that someone else has started, quite often it's too late. It's a pretty crowded place. And it's a slow one too. So, do you stop and think? Do you reflect? Do you look ahead? Do you evaluate what we're doing? And try to see opportunities that others might not see. Change will help you, give you that opportunity, that scenario to try to rethink what you're doing, the rules of the game, seeking insight into yourself. Most of you travel quite a lot. The best time to seek insight into yourself is when you're up on a plane, up in the clouds, thinking, reflecting, planning ahead. Don't waste that time. Sometimes you have wild ideas. It's okay to have a wild idea, as long as you tame it. Make it practical, make it realistic. Then to have a boring idea, what we did before, why don't we do today? And try to make it a bit engaging or interesting. So be brave, be creative. Take a step back and look around so you can change things. Figure out what people are not doing. Figure out what needs are not being met. Figure out what wagon is empty and grab the reins on that one. You must be the leader of the crowd, not a member of it. So yes, change is the essence of everything. Without it, progress ceases to exist. And we encounter this in our everyday lives, whether it's at work, whether with our families, with our social friends, even driving here, I encounter change. Thank you very much. The more the roadworks. But without it, progress doesn't exist, so you have to take everything with a pinch of salt. Do things better than everybody else. I'm a firm believer in this. If you want to be ahead of that, you need to instill in yourself this desire for continuous improvement, continuous development. The Japanese call it kaizen. The need of continuous improvement, seeking better ways of doing things, more qualitative. Don't strive to be just good enough. Do customer service better. Do a better job in what you do. Stop, think, rethink, reflect. BPR what you do, business process re-engineer. Can I do things more efficiently, more effectively? Rethink processes, rethink the way you work from the lens of the customer first and foremost, the client first and foremost, rather than for yourself and your internal work. Because out there, our clients, our customers have changed expectations today. There you are. They're changing all the time. And if you want to serve them, you must be in tune with their expectations, their needs. Know your customer. You must change to and adapt. Certainly, my message is avoid stagnation. Average is the enemy. Those who are successful are the ones who keep on setting the bar higher and higher. People will get noticed. Companies will get noticed when they push the boundaries, when they move to eliminate status quo, which might be tempting because it's easier to keep doing what you've done before. So change to grow. You grow by putting out one idea after another, after another, after another. When you get that idea, don't just think it, ink it, or key it in, and then act on it. Sometimes very good ideas become idle thoughts and they get lost. You don't do something to work on them. So change to grow. Grow by never quitting, never giving up. Winston Churchill once said, never, never, never give up. You grow by trying and failing. It's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes, as long as you don't repeat the same mistake. If you want to be successful, you need to change things. No self-doubt, no delusions, no indecision, no hesitation. Then take your idea, make it better, improve it, take it further, build it higher, and communicate it to others. Show how it's done. Show your colleagues best practice. You share good practice between yourselves in the various countries of Creditinfo. An excellent way to network and learn from each other. So yes, think wild sometimes. And sometimes that means you need to create a BHAG. A BHAG is a big, hairy, audacious goal. It's a long-term goal that sometimes actually changes the very nature of a business activity. And by the way, I'm not only talking of an organization, a business, but also individuals. All individuals should stop and think of a big, hairy, audacious goal. The power of a BHAG is all about making big plans, not small plans. Because big plans will give you a vision, will help you to aim high. And indeed, a noble idea, once recorded, will not die. Famous words by a brilliant American artist, Bernard. BHAGs are meant to shift how we do business, the way we are perceived in the industry. It's about helping us to move out of our comfort zone. BHAGs are typically long-term, 10-year type of commitments, of plans. How do you create a BHAG? First of all, you need to think about it, conceptualize it. It needs to be innovative. It needs to be compelling and exciting. Quite a difficult stage here, because you need to come up with a BHAG which can not only stimulate you for 6 months, year, 2 years, but something which you can keep on looking at and working towards for a number of years. Then you need to test it. Is it long-term? Is it something people can reach out to? Will it help you stretch yourself? Is it measurable? Is it life-changing? Does it create momentum? Does it excite you? Is it sustainable? Then you need to commit to it. Any BHAG needs commitment. Quite often, BHAGs also need to be broken up into smaller, measurable chunks or mini goals, mini targets. Otherwise, it's a long way to achieve that 10-year commitment. But short-term victories will help you to get there. Will encourage you, just like any type of plan. So BHAG is about a change of mindset. It's not only about incremental improvement, but it's a major step to help you to behave, act differently, and achieve goals which before were unachievable. It's about a bold vision. You need to aim high. So what is your BHAG? What are your big plans? Does your organization have a BHAG? Do you have a BHAG for your life? Here are some examples of typical BHAG which serve to energize and empower a number of high-profile organizations. So Google once said, we need to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Did they succeed? Fourth, many decades ago, they wanted to democratize the automobile, make it available to the world's people. Sony, they wanted to change the worldwide image of a Japanese product as poor quality, way back in the 50s, 60s. Disney, their deal husband many years ago was to build Disneyland and build it to our image, not just what's happening out there. Their deal was to be the best company in the world for all fields of family entertainment. Microsoft's classic deal to put a computer on every desk and in every home. I guess they succeeded. And Apple's was to provide products everyone will want to use, will yearn to use. Okay, so it's about vision, it's about big plans, it's about moving away from the status quo, it's about looking at change as an enabler to grow, to get bigger, better, more successful, more efficient, more effective, more results-oriented. But it's not that easy. Indeed, the classic literary work by Machiavelli, The Prince, classic quote, there is nothing more difficult to carry out, nor doubtful of success, nor more dangerous to handle, than to initiate a new order of things. Change is so hard to go about it. But it's a fact. Operational excellence that you might have at this point in time no longer ensures survival. Instead, companies need to outperform their market by changing at the pace and scale of those markets. And sometimes you might have competitive advantages at the moment within your organization, which might actually become disadvantages if you don't change and adapt and modify your competitive advantages to the evolving market. Okay? Don't necessarily turn your back on what has worked well previously, but ensure you are not too hooked on or too wedded to your past, because that will give you a sense of false security. Change is essential. If you do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got. Change requires bravery. Of course, you need to be brave to change. And sometimes you need to perform properly, even when scared half to death. So think of new systems, new computer systems, new processes which come your way. You're scared at first, and you're looking at, I wish I had the previous system. I could have done this quicker, faster. All it takes time, patience, practice, and then it becomes second nature. Be brave. Ask for the new update. Today, not next week. A close friend of mine, Maltese Canadian Jackie Backman, once told me, well, managing change is about being comfortable or training ourselves to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. An uncomfortable scenario. We always have uncomfortable scenarios when there's change. But you need to learn to become comfortable with it. Become a way of life. So we have a remit. Whether we're leading our units, we're managers of our units, or whether we're actually team workers who lead organizational change. often stated that the best consultants of a business are the employees of the business, the employees of the company. Quite often they know what needs to be changed. Be assertive, be proactive, be open. Charles Handy, change is the only constant in the organization, is often mentioned during any session on change. But certainly Churchill's advice to improve is to change. To be perfect, if you ever become perfect, is to change often. Keep on changing. We might delay change. We might say, oh, we don't need to change. We can wait for next year, next 6 months, next quarter. We're often quoting uncertainty or difficulties as reason for not to change. Better not to change now because there are these issues, these complexities. All excuses. You need to face it and change today. It's easier than waiting, procrastinating. So I started with this as an objective. We do have different attitudes to change. Human nature, it's enough. Some of us want to ignore change. Only for a short time, because then you have to face it. Some of us resist change, also constantly. So many of us resist change. Some try to cope with change. Some try to be on top of change by managing change. But the true leaders of any organization are those who seek to initiate change. The only people who embrace change are the babies. We don't like to change. And kids. Today's kids. New generation. Resistance to change often is a common factor in any company because employees hate change that doesn't jingle in their pocket. There are a number of reasons why people resist change. Perhaps it's fear of the unknown or failure. Perhaps there's lack of information or misinformation. Perhaps there are threats to your own status within the organization, your own power base, the knowledge that you have working on a particular system, process, and skills. Or perhaps we do not see any perceived benefit. What's in it for me to change? What's in it for us to change? Perhaps there are low levels of trust in those who are implementing change, or poor working relationships within the team. I find this in my training and development program with various companies and industries, many countries, quite a common factor. When there's a poor working relationship, poor interpersonal skills, poor team working, then people won't help each other, assist each other during periods of change. On the other hand, those organizations, those units who are not only a group of people, but actually a team working in synergy, helping each other, working for each other for one objective, then it's easier for them to climb on the bus of change. Don't discount the importance of this factor to enable overcoming the resistance to change. Some of us simply also don't like to find or seek a new way of working. John Cotter, famous Harvard University professor, expert on change, once stated, resistance to change may be active or passive, overt or covert, individual or sometimes organized. aggressive or timid. And sometimes totally justified, because we, as the leaders of our teams, units, departments, sections, companies, we don't work at communicating enough reasons to change, the benefits of change, helping, supporting people during the change. How often have we stated these, what I call killer phrases? Yes, but we've tried that before. What will people say? The boss in Iceland will never go for it. So keep the idea. Don't share it. It will be more trouble than it's worth. So why change? It will never work. It isn't your responsibility. It's not in the budget. We haven't got the manpower. Put it in writing. Good idea, but I have a better idea. Good idea, but it's not a high priority. If we want to lead our people well, if we want to support our colleagues during change, sometimes we need to help them cope with anxiety. Indeed, organizational change initiatives can sometimes trigger anxiety, fear, and resistance more than usual. Yet, those are the times when companies need to change to survive, not only to grow. So, I address this particularly to the organizational leaders. That is to reassure your employees so they buy into the change. Critical is the constant communication. Explain why the change is needed and how it will affect the team. Keep communicating regularly, updating them. Also acknowledge that during change there could be intense emotions around you. It's normal. And let people know that it's normal to feel anxious, even panic attacks. But you still value their talent and contribution, and you believe in your team members that they can adapt and change and learn the new system, the new way of working, the new process, which after a time, experience has shown us all. After the 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, you look back and you say, it's a great thing that we changed. How did we work before with the old way of working, with the old system of technology? The true enemies of change sometimes are mainly persons fearful of losing their empire, threat to their knowledge, experience, networking base, and so forth. And among the biggest promoters are those who stand to gain most. But we can make change to work for each and every one of us. I have been personally involved in a number of change projects, mega projects, whether it's about systems, whether about processes, whether about it's the way people need to serve customers. And I've always noticed that the people who embrace change are the ones who get promoted faster, are the ones who get more organizational benefits, because when there is change, everyone is on an equal footing. Change can be a paradox in itself. Our past is an advantage, our knowledge, relationship, and experience. But it's also a drawback, because there could be bad habits and taboos. In the meantime, our vision for the future is an opportunity, the next project, the next strategy. So it's good to look ahead. But it's also a drawback, because we could disregard information that will endanger the plan of the future. It's a paradox. You need to have the right balance. Contrast perspective through interesting research conducted in a number of organizations. Why change fails? Sometimes change fails because we don't establish a sense of urgency. We keep on procrastinating, postponing to the next quarter, year. Sometimes we don't create a powerful enough coalition that is working with other units or within the same unit working within other teams. You can't sometimes overcome the challenge of change working on your own. You need to work with others, coalition, alliances. Sometimes change fails because people don't know why the changes has to happen. There's a lack of vision and under-communicating that vision. I stress the importance so much of constant, continual communication within the units, within the global reach of the organization. Clarity, uniformity, clarity on values, clarity on the norms that we need to have to achieve our goals. Sometimes change fails because we don't remove obstacles within the movement. It's true, you need to get everyone on board. You try to motivate everyone. You give them opportunities, chances, first, second, third times out. But ultimately, anybody who does not want to move on to the new vision, embrace it, needs to be removed. Sometimes change fails if it's a long-term project and we don't plan short-term wins, which can give us some breathers, a bit of inspiration to celebrate success at the various phases of the change process. Sometimes change fails because we declare victory too soon. Ready from phase one, oh, we've settled now, everything is in place. No way, there are other phases. And also, very importantly, the importance to realign change according to the culture of the organization. Sometimes to the culture, as you are all aware, of your own country. McKelvin and Patton came up with an interesting study, and they identified the various stages when people resist change. First, we are confused about change. We deny it. Then we defend ourselves against the change. Oh, it won't affect us. It will affect us next year, in 2 years' time. Another stage is when you become optimistic. Oh, we can go through this. We can adapt to this. And then moving on to adopting the learning of the new system. And finally, it becomes part of us, internalizing, accepting the change. But to internalize and accept the change, there needs to be strong education, training, communication. I reiterate this point. Getting the participation and the involvement of those people who will be affected by the change. It's often stated that when people are involved at the outset of any change system, change process, you get more ownership when they accept, because they feel part of the design of the change. They feel they own it because they've been consulted. Facilitation and support during change is a must, as well as negotiation on targets and agreement on the various phases to implement the change. Essentially, during change, you need to make people part of the solution rather than part of the problem. Indeed, it's about leadership. Change is about 80% leadership, establishing direction, aligning people to the goals, to the strategy, to the values. It's about motivating others. And hey, especially to the leaders out there, you need to be leading others in motivation. If you're not too fully convinced on the change, you have to keep it within you and show the glass which is half full as opposed to the half empty. Because you are a role model to others as a leader of that particular unit. So you need to inspire people, encourage. and only 20% management, planning, budgeting, organizing, and problem solving. So these are some critical requirements of change efforts, and I've borrowed some stuff here from HBR, Harvard Business Review, which states that you need to have a clear destination, you have to have a starting point, and you need to persist continually. Also from HBR, you need to avoid some pitfalls, like failure to adapt. Adapt. Because what works in one company will not likely work in yours unless the practice is customized for your culture, environment, and people. So you need to tailor any lesson from others to fit your unique situation. And secondly, the pitfall of failing to adopt. Okay, you can take a borrowed process or tool, but you need to adopt it, and you need to have the full support before you implement. Indeed, change isn't what it used to be. In the past, the big guys, the big companies, the big corporations, the big countries, perhaps, tended to eat the small. Today, it's the good guys who are eating the small. Act fast, stand up for an individual, for yourself, as individual people having different roles in the company or the company itself. If you don't, you'll get run over. Success is sweet, of course it is, but its secret is sweat. Often we lament, or people lament in a company, I'm drowning under the weight of change, another new system, a new process, a new way of working, a new structure. I can't breathe with all this change. People complain. The answer is, yes, you can. You need to learn to breathe differently. If you want to survive, let alone to grow. So there you are. It's all about breathing differently, whether you're in the slow lane, fast lane, or the challenge. It's about creating a continually burning platform. There is no sustainable competitive advantage in business today beyond sustained accelerated change. Our platform, our parquet flooring is burning. Let's move. Let's move. Don't delay. And you can't manage change or lead change by simply pushing from one place, from head office, or from one country, from one company, from one department. It's about a team synergistic effort. Tom Peters stated, it's like moving a chocolate blancmange, like a custard, across the table. You have to move it gradually by pushing in various places at the same time. A force for change. You need to come up with change. And I've emphasized BHA. I've emphasized big dramatic innovation. But at least if you don't get that, at least you should look at a continuous process of constant adjustment, continuous improvement of Kaizen in every area, for the company, for the organization, and for yourself as individuals. It's so satisfying when you get better, when you become more efficient, more effective in what you do. At least for your own self-satisfaction, for your self-fulfillment. It's intrinsic satisfaction which money can't even attempt to emulate. So guys out there, my message is think and act, behave as change agents, promoting change, managing change, help each other during change. organize ideas, people and things, and support other people in the process. You can always do it better, and better, and better. If you're leaders, you have to act as role models. You model the change. You need to demonstrate the way you want things to change through your own language and behavior. Because when people see a leader doing something first, they get the courage to do it themselves. Another way to promote change is to turn negatives into positives. Find ways, and there are always ways, to reframe people's resistance as opportunities for change. Listen carefully. Be aware of what's happening around you. The door's closed, but look around for the window of opportunity. Find allies. Chances are other people in your organization want the change as badly as you do. Pool your resources, work together, share your ideas, and try to promote change quietly through this alliance. Be the change you want to see in the world. Be the change you want to see in your company. Role model behavior, attitudes, and more importantly, actions. So, are you facing the challenge of change? Are you learning as fast as the world is changing? Because as a business leader, you can't afford to stop learning. Seek ways to evolve and be humble enough to know you don't always have the answer. Seek continuous self-learning, self-development. It's a great idea to have these webinars through your Creditinfo Academy, but develop and find your own self-development academy. Look out for training programs out there which you can attend. Go on the web. There are so many open learning, free courses which you can take in any area. MOOCs. Look up MOOCs. Virtual learning courses by a number of universities and free to do as e-learning on your own. Learning, because to cope with the changing world, you need to continuously develop the capacity of shifting, changing, of developing new skills and attitudes. If you want to remain au courant, French, staying in tune, staying updated, ensure the capability of learning. Learning equals growth. We're not talking about exams, assessments, certification. We're talking about individual knowledge, skills, and attitude. Nobody can take away that from you. It's all within the growth. So yes, we will definitely be faced with denial, going rock bottom when we're faced with change, the pits. Oh, the system is so hard to master. I would have to try the other way. But you start learning, you fall for a bit of discouragement. You keep on learning and learning until you go up onto a higher comfort zone. That's the personal process of change which we go through each and every time. If we persist, if we don't give up, if we look ahead, lessons and learning. Ken Blanchard, the lessons you learn as individuals and your speed in learning those lessons can be the defining factor in your individual success, in your organization success, as well as in survival. So look at the future. Think of the future. Zoom into the future. Charles Darwin his classic quote, which for me is reactive. It's reactive thinking, because he had said it's not the strongest of the team that provides, not the most intelligent, but those that are the most responsive to change. So that was the scenario during those times. Be responsive, good, but still reactive. Today, we look at examples like Eastman Powder. What went wrong with Eastman Powder? We tried to be reactive, but reactivity was not enough. And today, they're out of business. Today, we need to have a proactive mindset. I love this quote by Peter Drucker. One cannot manage change and just be happy with managing the change. One can only be ahead of it. So change to grow. The best way to predict the future is to create it. So guys, I wish you success in creating your own future as individuals, as teams and organizations. It's been a pleasure facilitating this webinar. To you out there as well, to the Malta group. Excellent support from here. Well done for this initiative. I hope you found it interesting and engaging, and perhaps our paths can cross again one day. Thank you very much.